Welcome back. So excited that you are here. I'm so excited I'm here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, whether you were live or on the replay. I'm Margot Master, your heartfelt CFO, and I'm so glad to have you here. And I was thinking about today's live, and I was saying to myself how I'm really so fortunate to have a following that listens to these videos each week and in multiple different ways, whether it's lives or in the replay or through our email community and through our website. There's so many different things. And I want to begin and share something really important that was a growth factor for me over these past few months that's really going to align in today's lesson and what we're really talking about. When growth starts to feel heavier, there's a lot more moving pieces and there's more conversations, there's more systems, there's more tasks, and the operational pressure, what happens is underneath the surface, is what begins to speak louder. And what I realized is that it has nothing to do with revenue. It's the visibility of those underneath problems. And it actually reminds me of in a home of mine where there was a lot of flooding. And what we had to do was like underneath the surface of the concrete to fix it. And it was like an exorbitant amount of money. I don't know, maybe it was like 15,000 or like 25,000 was like a lot. And like when you see that money coming out of your account and you can't really see it, like feel it, hold it, taste it, and like nurture it, you're like, where did that money go? But you feel it in different ways because when there's flooding, it's more controlled and different things. And then when you bring this back into business, that those parts that quietly start to impede on business growth, they're outgrowing the systems that are underneath it. So, where did I go with this? A lot more operational, centralized workflows, clarifying team roles, improving visibility on marketing, refined targeting, operational reviews, um, changing positions of different people internally, priorities. And the emotional reactivity decreased. And now we all have this, thing around, oh, you can't put your emotions into it. But we are humans behind this that actually stem to where our actions are. And for me, for many years, I was carrying a lot in my head, whether it was the CRM or it was the follow ups, the approvals, the operations. And that led me into directly into reactive and proactive over time. And you hear me a lot talking around the tax side, and I don't talk enough about the operational side of that thing. And I'm going to go into that, which is what our process is, our signature process, what we are talking about. And when revenue alone does not create operational stability, you start to realize that just because activity is happening doesn't mean visibility actually exists. And the biggest shift is stop asking what's failing and start asking what operational visibility is missing, which now goes into our lesson of is what growing real estate business, why growing real estate businesses quietly outgrow their financial systems. Real estate businesses keep growing, but they become confidently in the undermining in the quieter spaces, but it's harder to manage things in that underneath surface. So revenue doesn't equal liquidity, but at first the business still appears successful externally. Revenue grows, properties are added, projects continue to move, but external operational pressure quietly increases. And I could tell you when this has been happening for me lately, you know, um, over the past few months, you have to, I started to let those things happen so that I can feel like where it goes and where it needed to shift. And there's not enough talk around nervous system regulation on what really will work for us as business owners and what we really need to do. And I want to normalize that more around money, business, and tax. So growth increases complexity faster than most operators expect. I've experienced it. People start to put this first into tax, then it comes into salary, then it comes into expenses, and then it comes into like this fog around making more money. So more properties, what happens is that it's more decisions, more moving cash, more reporting demands, more coordination. And this is where visibility slowly weakens, not because the leadership stopped working hard, because the business itself becomes harder to fully see clearly. It starts sounding like cash is tight, everything is feeling heavier lately, we're growing, but it feels much harder to manage. I can't fully see where pressure is building because it's all of those underneath things of what's happening, of what we're not really attending to. So we're like, oh, another day. Oh, for me, I would be like I'm choosing my battles. And what would happen is that over time, when you choose your battles of what needs to speak to you, it's more about what matters to you at the time. And where I am in my business, everything matters. There's no really choosing your battles anymore. Most visibility gaps are not obvious. They're delayed reporting, fragmented systems, inconsistent tracking, reactive coordination, and over time, these decision-making confidences weaken. So let's reframe this as this is not always a revenue problem, but it's a financial infrastructure problem. This actually reminds me of a story, and I was on the phone, I was on a Zoom with my assistant this morning, and I was noticing again a pattern with a collab where this coordination of what I'm sharing here around the infrastructure is really the issue. So they were asking me to speak on something where I've spoken on this topic at least 50 times over my career. And there's so many different versions of the same topic. And what I said was to her, I was like, why aren't people really paying attention to on the factors that really will make them money and stay that way and keep it consistent? And now that I think about this more in the real estate part too, it's that this infrastructure problem, it's that breakdown where we think it's not worth our time to exist, or where we think that it's not a good place to be because of like hustle or where we think it should be, but this is the place to be. Growth changes, cash flow complexity, reporting requirements, decision-making needs. Revenue alone doesn't create the operational stability. Without the visibility, we're going to go back into leadership stress and all of the different things. So revenue does not equal liquidity. So what's the shift? Now that you have all of this, what's the answer? What do we do? This is where life leadership has to evolve. And this is where I tell you, for me, is that to start listening to those heaviness, to start thinking, okay, what's really happening here? So the real information that was happening is that something like even finishing my sentences, I wasn't doing. And think about conversations of where you wanted to say a thought and then somebody cut you off and you couldn't. So it goes from managing transactions to strengthening the visibility, structure, and the proactive operations. And the real estate wealth operating system I want to introduce you to again. It's a framework designed to help operators strengthen visibility, proactive structure, leadership, and to scale once and for all, and not go down the ladder, only stay up the ladder. And I guarantee you that with this system. Visibility, structure, scale is the real estate wealth operating system. I'm so excited to share this with you, and I invite you to join in. The transformation is stronger visibility, changes how growth feels operationally, and operators regain confidence underneath the growth. And the transformation, instead of just reacting, there's visibility, there's control, there's awareness. So we go from reactive to proactive. And the goal is not simply portfolio growth. It's the greater visibility, the stronger structure, so that when you turn income into structured, scalable wealth, that's the freedom. That's the money. That's the abundance. That's the consistency. That's your salary. That's what's going to help taxes get paid. That's what's going to help credit cards and savings and retirement and all of the different things. So again, I want you to take step one and take our assessment, where you can see where you're at with this part from our 4-part system, where we go back into the 4 parts. Let's go back here. Visibility, structure, and scale. And most of my clients, they come in scale and structure, but their visibility is what needs work. And it could be anywhere from 2 to 7 to 2 to 6 years behind. I've even have clients that are 8 to 12 years behind of where bigger decisions were made, and it was literally incapacitating them. So I invite you today, take the first next step with me. Please take this assessment, and I encourage you to take the next step after that, which is the clarity session, which is when we work one-on-one together on those next steps of what happened from that clarity assessment. And once you go in there and you take care of the session, it aligns you on time on your calendar. It also builds you into the next steps to think about the call so that you could really plan properly and take from there. All your answers are going to be when you get it with the assessment. However, there's going to be enough information that it's like, what do you really want to do on the session for next steps, so that we can make things work for you once and for all. Stop going down into the ladder and continue the strength of the growth and scale and beyond your wildest dreams. I look forward to seeing your results. I look forward to taking those steps with you, seeing you on the call together with me so that we can work together on it. I am so grateful for you listening. Thank you all, and I cannot wait to talk to you again soon.